Welcome back to another episode of Believe in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell here with my co-host Seth Dowdle. Seth, it's that time. It is basketball season officially starting next week. TCU basketball is set to tip off. We're going to preview both the men's and women's basketball team, but we'll be doing that with a special guest today, the lead college basketball writer for TCU on SI. He hosts Horned Up, TCU football podcasts. Also runs video for the Dallas Cowboys. He's everywhere. It's Nick Girimonte. Nick, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
What's going on? You know I love to come on here. It's one of my favorite podcasts, talking TCU, and been too long since we ran it back. So I'm excited.
It has. I think you are the most reoccurring guest on the show. So
That's huge.
I don't know what the leaderboard is, but I think you're number one.
It's probably like 2.
Big honor.
I think this is your second time on.
No, I think
third.
maybe,
It's third.
Yeah, I think
third.
third.
Yeah, third time.
Okay.
So Nick, thanks for joining us. We couldn't talk TCU hoops without you here, so I really appreciate it. Well, we're gonna just get right into it. We're gonna start with TCU men's basketball. Obviously, last year felt like kind of a transition year, Nick, and this year they were able to bring back a lot of returners. I think the most in the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Second most.
Second most.
Yeah.
To Houston. Okay, yeah. So obviously that's a good sign for Jamie Dixon's team. They bring in Brock Harding and Jaden Pierre, and they recently played in a closed scrimmage against Texas, and they were able to win that one. I think it was 91-78. Nick, do you want to tell us a little more about that closed scrimmage with Texas?
Yeah, if you remember last year, they did a little home closed scrimmage, and they went down to San Antonio to play Texas. And they lost by almost 30. I think it was 80-52. So they got him back this year. Obviously, a completely different Texas team with Sean Miller, but it's arguably like a better Texas team with Polson coming into the year. So this was a huge test. They had an exhibition against Tarleton that they looked very good in, but this is obviously a huge step up. And to win by nearly 20 is so encouraging. Like, you can only take so much out of a scrimmage, I know, and it's still very early on. But when you're looking for progress, this is massive. Like, we saw Brock Harding drop 13 assists in the scrimmage. And we saw Jaden Pierre have success. Like, there was 6 players with double figures. I think 7 players if you include RJ Jones with 9 points. Like, it's a very, very, very encouraging sign for them to be able to put this together early on. And I think the big reason that they could do this is with the returners. Like you said, it's a completely different situation where you return 6 scholarship players and 4 that played significant minutes last season. That's going to give you a huge head start on the beginning of the year that you didn't have last year, because the only guy you return was Ernest Uday, and you lose your point guard early and all that kind of stuff. So very, very encouraging, and it gives you a good sign that they could start off the season hot and maybe take advantage of some teams that are more put together through the portal and not as contingent.
I mean, yeah, because they got to start off hot at least for the first couple of games, because, man, this thing is a gauntlet. Like, I've looked at the schedule.
Yeah, no, it legitimately is, yeah.
I've looked at the schedule, I don't know, a handful of times since it came out. Look at it again right now, and each time I look at it, I think to myself, it gets harder each time. Because, yeah, sure, you start off with, like, New Orleans, St. Francis, and Lamar, and you're like, you feel like you should take care of those. But then you get Michigan, who's ranked in the top 10. You get Florida in a neutral site tournament game, host Notre Dame. North Texas is a pretty good, mid-major. I say that now as a fellow North Texas student, by the way. Just want to make that clear.
Oh, yeah.
Go Mean Green, but not on December 7th. And then you get, your conference schedule, which obviously is always a gauntlet. So, like, it's definitely one of those things where, like, the returning production, I feel like, could help. One, because you're already within the system that Jamie's, developed and whatnot, but also then you supplement that with, players like Brock Harding, and hopefully that clicks like it didn't last year. And, injuries were obviously an issue last year as well, but, like, you're hoping for some better luck on that front too.
Yeah, I think that shows the schedule is very different than we've seen Jamie Dixon's staff schedule games of recent years. And I would take that as a sign of confidence for this team. Like you mentioned, Michigan, Florida, like those are 2 top 10 teams. And then you play the either Wisconsin or Purdue, depending on how the Florida game goes and the Wisconsin-Purdue game goes during Feast Week. Like Wisconsin's a ranked team. North Texas, Notre Dame, like you said, like there seems to be a confidence in this team that they haven't had in a while. Like the buzz about getting Brock Harding out of Iowa, like they haven't had this point guard in. You can say Damian Baugh. I would say since Damian Baugh to be conservative because Damian Baugh was a very, very good frog and NBA player and all that kind of stuff. And Mike Miles, I guess Mike Miles is more of like a combo guard, shooting guard, playing off DB. But go back to Alex Robinson, or I don't know. But he's as good of a passing point guard as they've had. And I think that was the number one priority, is getting these 2 point guards, because Jaden Pierre is also one. Now they are a little bit undersized, and that could bite them on defense. But they needed that. Last season, they did not have that. Noah Reynolds was their best point guard player, but he wasn't really like top assist guy, like making these unbelievable passes. And Frankie Collins was supposed to be that guy, but he got hurt. And even before that, like he's more of a complete defensive player, athletic scorer guy than the pass first guy. And Brock Harding's a true point guard, and Jaden Pierre can also play that point guard role. That's massive. Because you have contingency everywhere else. Micah Robinson, David Punch looks like he's looking to take that sophomore jump. Jace Posey, Malik Diallo, like these guys have been there, know the offense. Having guys that can kind of unlock their skill set better, because the half court was bad last year and they needed to improve on that. I think they nailed their priorities in the portal and getting the best that they could for their budget. Another thing too, like these guys were like their official visit hit rate was unbelievable and better than past years by far. Like Brock, JP, like they didn't have a crazy amount of OVs. They just hit on a lot of them. And that's very encouraging as well, because these are guys that they wanted first go around. And it seems like it was a perfect match because those guys went there right after the OV.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they were able to get the guys they really wanted. I think that really bodes well for your roster. If you pinpoint guys you think that can fit your system well and actually able to get them, that really does say a lot. And it fired me up to see Brock Harding when I saw your tweet saying he had 13 assists, because I love a good playmaking guard, and I agree. I don't think we've had that really since Damian Baugh. There's Jameer Nelson and Avery Anderson, but those guys kind of primarily scoring, and that really excites me to have a guard, like Brock Harding that can distribute and really run an offense, because the half court offense was not great. TCU the last few years has prioritized scoring in transition, fast break points. That's been their MO. And this year it would be nice to see them be able to slow the pace down a little bit and run an offense that can score and not feel like you only need to score in transition, because once the game slows down for TCU, that's where they really ran into trouble against teams like Houston and stuff like that. So, that's exciting. Really looking forward to seeing how Brock Harding and Jaden Pierre play. Yeah. You mentioned it a little bit, and I wanted to ask you about David Punch and Micah Robinson, because I'm really excited to see. I've heard a lot of buzz around David Punch especially. I wanted to get your thoughts about those two guys. Where do you see them? Like, how big of a leap do you think those two guys can make for next year?
Yeah, those are two of my big take next step guys. Maybe my two biggest in terms of like buying stock in these guys. Micah Robinson's work ethic, I think, can't be outdone by anybody on this team. That's no disrespect. He's just in the gym all the time trying to get better. His build is that of the 4-star player that he was and highly recruited guy. And I think last year, probably as a true freshman, played too many just minuscule minutes and little spurts where it's hard to find your rhythm. He was the leading scorer in this Texas TCU scrimmage and shooting perfect from the field. He's so fundamentally sound and locked in that I think he's kind of the most under talked about player on this team that should have a big impact. And David Punch, like, he's getting the hype, but it's well deserved. Like, he started as a true freshman last year. I know it was a down TCU team, but Jamie Dixon doesn't start or even play true freshman much for that matter. That shows he was the only true freshman to consistently start since Mike Miles Jr., which is obviously big credit from a Jamie Dixon led team. He's got the build, like, eye test wise. David Punch passes everything. He's big, he's athletic, and he was asked to play the 5 position at the start of last year, which kind of isn't his true position because he wants to be able to get out on the perimeter a little bit, shoot the ball, which he's been working on a ton, and on the defensive end, like, he's going to be able to play the 4 because they have 3 centers this year, so he can be more comfortably himself. And I think the transition from freshman year to sophomore year is one of the biggest that anybody can make. And David Punch is going to be, like, he's a good chance to be, maybe not leading scorer, but like top 3 in scoring and really be one of the big names of TCU athletics, because coming back, everyone's familiar with him, and he's going to have these highlight dunks, and he's also going to be fundamentally sound. So, yeah, those 2 guys are I can't speak highly enough of both of them.
Yeah, I heard
John Rothstein. Yeah,
no
our
way.
sage, our shaman of college basketball, John Rothstein, sits in a chamber and just watches ball all day long.
Yeah,
sicko. Absolute sicko.
That's hilarious that we both thought of John Rothstein and David Punch.
Literally the entire time he's talking about David Punch, I think about John Rothstein, which is just terrible.
Well, that's a credit. Like, John Rothstein isn't talking about TCU basketball all the time now.
No.
Like, if he's giving a spiel on why David Punch is a breakout guy, you gotta
listen.
raise eyebrows.
That's not like a player that you say that as like, oh, this will get clicks. Like, that's like a real deep cut thing for him for a national reporter like that to find. So that's obviously encouraging. You mentioned the centers, that they'll have 3 centers. Do you have any idea of what the rotation might look like between the 3?
Yeah, I would favor Malik Diallo starting right away, and I would say that Xavier Edmonds is probably like the 2, and then Vianney Salachum. I got to get that name pronounced right before the season starts.
That looks right.
I think that's right. They call him V, so
there you go.
That's what Dixon will tell you how it's pronounced. But yeah, Malik coming back was huge. Like, I can tell you that he was wanted by other programs, and center is a position in college basketball, center and point guard. It's so rare to find good ones, and Malik was a guy who should have redshirted last season, but with circumstances to the team, like, he was asked to play good, and coming off an ACL injury, he was way better than I think Dixon would have wanted. He's going to be the solid guy. He's going to give you full effort, great defense, and I think his offensive game has come a long way this summer. So I would favor him being the starting guy, but Xavier Edmonds is my sleeper, I would say, to really be a massive piece of this team. He was the number 1 junior college guy, and they got him. They expect him to play the 5, even though he's a little bit undersized, but he can do everything offensively. And I don't think that transition from JUCO to Big 12 ball is going to affect him a ton, because he's that athletic and that gifted. Like, he can dribble, shoot, play defense. He picked TCU over Oregon and USC, I believe. And whenever you're the number one junior college guy, like it raises eyebrows. So I think Xavier Edmonds could end up being like the top big, maybe, just in terms of he probably has the highest potential of all three bigs. So huge things coming for him, I think. And V's a guy who didn't play basketball until late and went to JUCO as well, went to Florida International last year. Probably more of a defense first guy. He's the tallest guy on this team, tallest scholarship guy on this team. Shout out to Adam Stewart. But yeah, he's going to be a good defender. He's going to be defensive rebounding. I think Dixon said that his offensive game has come along more than he would have wanted, or more than he even thought. But yeah, I think he's mainly going to be in there. And we kind of see Dixon before play a third big in sparing minutes and just kind of have good depth on his team, so you don't have to play like a David Punch on the fight. Like we saw an Issam Mustafa play sparing minutes as kind of the third big, or we saw a Suleiman Doumbia come in and play the third big, just kind of have good depth, or even Xavier Cork to a point. But I do think it's a great depth piece to have, and probably more of that than the roles of Malik Diallo and Xavier Edmonds, who are expected to play big minutes. But that was like a late thing in the portal because I just think they didn't feel like they had enough depth. Like he entered his name the last minute of the portal and kind of came out of nowhere a week later to take his OV. And yeah, so I think that's very important because the height and defense and size of this team is arguably its biggest weakness, and that just adds a bigger security blanket.
Yeah, and looking at Xavier Edmonds, I mean, just you were talking about him at average 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists at Salt Lake Community College. Shot 54% from the field, 73% from the free throw line. Had 37 points back in February. So obviously
watch his film. It bounces off how good. And I got a chance to go to a couple practices early on. I haven't been in a while, but he passes the eye test of like, this dude's got it.
Yeah, it's a big jump to the Big 12. But what were you
I
gonna
love
say, Seth?
the eye test. Oh goodness, love the eye test.
If you got 5 minutes, pull up Xavier Edmonds Salt Lake Community College tape, and you will not be disappointed.
You would be surprised at how many community college tape of basketball players I have watched. And you would be also surprised about who those people are. We will talk about that after the show. I'm afraid
I love that.
It's here on the actual.
I was about to ask you, but okay.
I'll tell you, Grant Ellis, Bachelor.
Oh, nice.
Community college.
Hell yeah.
Grant Ellis.
Super valid.
There's nothing like sitting down, having a nice cold beverage, watching some community college tape on a night. There's just nothing better.
Especially in the doldrums of summer, there's nothing to do. Just
nothing better.
Watch
Yeah.
When
the weather's nice, sit inside, watch some community college tape.
I did some play-by-play for community college for basketball, and I mean there are some dogs down. Like there's some guys that can score. I mean they would get close to 100 points in as a team, obviously combined, and but guys would not one guy, but like these guys would really, I mean, they would shoot the three really well. I mean, putting up 20 to 30 points, like it was impressive, and it's not something to look down on. Obviously, it's a big jump from community college to the Big 12, the best basketball conference in the country. But I mean, you said it, Nick. You think Xavier Edmonds can easily make that jump, so it's exciting, for sure.
Alrighty, we're a big vibes pod, Nick, as you're probably aware. TCU finished 500 last year. I'd qualify that as pretty bad vibes.
Bad vibes
for sure. Bad vibes for sure. And this is a two-pronged question, one of which is a vibes question. The other one is a serious basketball question. First of all, what would you qualify as a good, successful season for TCU where, like, the vibes are good. We're heading into March. We feel good about where we're at. Or even if like we're leaving April, or like, I'm not saying TCU is going to make it to the Final Four, but season's done. We look back at it. We're like, that was a fun, good time. And the second thing is, what like on the actual basketball court should we expect TCU to be able to improve on most?
Yeah, vibes. To your point, vibes last year were not good. The fact that they were close, like if you remember after they beat Texas Tech, there was a legitimate shot that they could sneak in and backdoor the tournament. The fact that they even got to that was unreal with the injuries and just kind of the culture issues. That I don't think it was horrible, but there's definitely some stuff here and there where you could improve team chemistry wise. It seems significantly different this year, where because you retain the guys that you wanted to, they already have that culture built. Like they already know the leaders of this team. Like everybody's kind of appointed Brock and Pierre as the leaders of this team, and it seems like there's much more of an identity, which is very encouraging. In terms of success this year, I see, like, if you look at all the advanced rankings and Ken Palms and Torvix and all that kind of stuff, they're 50s, 60s. And if you look at bracketologies, like, they're nowhere even near the bubble. Like, try to find me a bracketology that has TCU in the bubble.
This bracketology right here.
Maybe after the scrimmage, we don't know. But this is a massive year for Jamie Dixon. Like, this is year 10. He's gotten some scrutiny for sure, and especially when he's elevated this program to heights that they hadn't seen before. Like they hadn't got a tournament win since he was a player until 2022, and make 3 straight tournaments for the first time, like breaking all these types of records and all that kind of stuff. So you've gotten to this point in the Big 12 where you made 3 straight tournaments, you were feeling good, and last year was definitely a step back. This year, I would qualify getting back to the tournament as a success, just because nobody's predicting them to do that. And if they do that, I think it passes everybody's expectations. The main reason I say just make the tournament, this is ideally a multiple year plan. The only player who's the only scholarship player, shout out Trey Stewart, who's
second time
who's exercising eligibility after this year is Jaden Pierre. Every single other player could come back after, obviously, if they want him or they want to leave. We know this transfer portal thing works college basketball, where that's not going to be the case. But the fact that every single one of these players could, I think if you make the tournament this year, and it would be very similar to the 2022 season where everybody was young that year. Like, and then you brought back Mike Miles, Damian Baugh, Chuck O'Bannon, Micah Peavy, Eddie Lampkin, like all these guys, Xavier Cork, who were on the team last year. And then hopefully you build and take it to, like, you have to reach the second weekend eventually, right? So I think next year would ideally be the big year where you start to expect Sweet 16, or hopefully be able to get to the second weekend, because that is the hump that I think TCU fans want to get over, and Dixon and their team definitely wants to get over. This year, I think making the tournament would definitely be a success because of that point. And I think the biggest difference on the basketball court, aside from point guard play, because we talked about that, is shooting. Like, I want to get into some of the transfers that they added too, because that was another big priority. Like, that's another big reason, aside from the point guard play, why they couldn't have success in the half court. Like, their 3-point shooting was just bad, and couldn't find consistency the entire year. Like, they got LT Lataris Lelavicius from Oregon State. They got Tanner Toolson from Utah Valley. These are 2 shooters. They also, like, RJ Jones was redshirted last year. He's a shooter. Ashton Simmons can shoot. Micah Robinson has improved his shooting. Jace Posey, we saw mid-year improve his shooting. Brock can do it. JP can do it. They have so many guys that can shoot the ball. Xavier Edmonds, as we talked about. And then Bug Edwards is a bona fide scorer. They're highly touted think, third overall ranked player of all time, the freshman coming in, who lit it up in the purple-white scrimmage and lit it up in the Tarleton game and had success in the Texas game as well. Like, he's a bona fide scorer from Fort Worth. Like, they have the depth on this team is at levels that it hasn't been recently. Like, it's a good problem to have. That I don't know how they're going to get all these guys on the court at once, but obviously injuries are going to happen and all that kind of stuff. But they have so many different guys that can shoot. It's not like we saw last year. They bring in the only real shooter. I guess Trezarian White and like Brennan Wenzel, and those guys had success at times, but were also inconsistent. In years past, like, you have certain one guy or two guys that can be your shooters. That's not the case with this team, where it can be so many different people. And when you have guards like Harding and Pierre and even Ashton Simmons, for that matter, who's a point guard that they didn't have last year, who's coming off a redshirt, like, they're going to be able to space the floor better. Like, the identity of this team is always going to be transition, but they can have success, hopefully, in more different ways, which they showed in the close scrimmage against Texas, and they showed in the Tarleton game and the purple-white scrimmage that they couldn't have it in previous years. So I think the shooting is definitely going to be the biggest improvement.
I need y'all to hear me out on something real fast. And I know that this is not a one-for-one apples-to-apples comparison. And this is a totally vibes analysis. But last year, and we'll get to the women's team in a second, because obviously a lot to talk about with them. But last year, the women's team had like a really tough non-conference schedule that they had those 3 big games and they won 2 of them. And then they got completely killed by South Carolina. But then we all know how their season went. Won the Big 12, made the Elite 8, whatnot. TCU men this year, I'd qualify as having like 3 big scalp games where if you can pick up one and you feel really good about yourself. I don't know how this goes, but if TCU like picks up like upsets against Michigan, beats Notre Dame,
Gets killed by the reigning national champion Florida,
just like the women's team got killed by the reigning national champion South Carolina. Yeah. What are we looking at here? We're looking at deja vu. That's all I'm saying.
I like it. That Michigan game is going to be it's going to be similar, honestly bigger, in my opinion, than the NC State women's game when you had them at the Shoal, because Michigan's just going to be a top maybe 5 team.
Yeah.
And NC State was very good as well, but that's the coming moment where they're probably going to be 3-0, knock on wood, at that point, and it's extremely good Michigan team is going to be coming into your house, which is a great opportunity. And hopefully the Shoal gets rocking for that one. That's just going to be fun. That's going to be a moment that the Shoal hasn't had from a non-conference opponent in arguably ever. And yeah, I'm just very looking forward to that one, because that's going to be a massive test. Even if that's just if you even compete and try to if you're within a score or 2 and have the lead and it's back and forth, and you can show that you can play with a team like Michigan, that shows a great encouragement. But yeah, you want to be able to take care of Notre Dame, North Texas, which are going to be tough, but quality wins. And then I think the game with Wisconsin or Providence is going to be very good as well, as a good litmus test, because as much as you would have great aspirations to beat a Michigan or a Florida, realistically, if you beat Wisconsin or Providence, North Texas, Notre Dame, then I think you can feel pretty good with coming at 3-2. That's my goal, is come 3-2 out of those big 5 games, and I think it's a decently successful non-con.
The goal is just not to get run off the court, obviously.
With
some of those, with the Michigan game, in my opinion. But
Michigan's legit.
Yeah. It's Florida on Thanksgiving. I totally didn't realize that game was on Thanksgiving. Got to eat a turkey leg while I watch the Gators.
Yeah.
Probably. Think Billy Napier shows up to the Florida TCU game? Oh, never mind.
Definitely not.
Probably not.
It is in San Diego. No. Maybe it's Thanksgiving.
Maybe he's a little holiday action.
Yeah.
I think Lane Kiffin's the head coach at Florida by Thanksgiving.
I think he'd take LSU before he took
probably
Florida. He's gonna get 13 mil a year is the number that they're throwing out, right?
Yeah, something like that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But with this Michigan game, I think you laid it out perfectly, Nick. It is an exciting opportunity. Look, TCU men's basketball has had some pretty weak non-conference schedules, and I think they've gotten some criticism from that. I think that's hurt them a little bit as far as ranking and all that, and not being able to have that strong non-conference schedule, but they laid it all out there this year. And so I think it's a good opportunity, not just to show, the college basketball world, but also TCU fans, because you want buy-in and from your students and your fans pretty early on. And if you can come out and beat or at least play competitive against a really good Michigan team, that bodes well for you down the road. And obviously the students will show up for the for the conference games, but at least there's a little more buy-in and kind of that thought in your head a little bit about, okay, yeah, TCU men's basketball could be legit this year. So it's good to get that buy-in sooner rather than later. And I think, it'd be good to get that early on.
And I understand it's still football season, and
yeah,
I love TCU women's basketball more than anybody, but I think it's important to support the men's team as well, because like you said as well, it's a special moment, and a Friday night. I know there's other activities and stuff like that, but just make the show a tough environment for those games and support this team, because I think this is I don't know, like, people have clamored for these non-con opportunities, and just showing up and supporting, I think, is massive for a game like that where you can really make a difference.
It's exciting. You got me fired up for TCU men's basketball this year. They obviously, the Big 12 is tough, and they're gonna, they probably won't be the best team in the Big 12, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the main goal. It just being competitive in this conference. They'll open up their season against New Orleans on November 3rd, Monday at the Shoal, and then conference play starts out with Baylor. Unfortunate that that's during winter break on January 3rd at home.
Yeah, their first 4 conference games are gone.
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm looking at it right now, and I forgot that BYU's supposed to be good this year. They got that dude. They got the dude.
They got
That's
the
what
dude.
I don't remember his name.
The Bantha, Rob Wright, Richie Saunders. They have money and they have dudes.
Hey, BYU's always had money.
Yeah.
They just used it this year.
Yeah.
They used it on Bear Bachmeyer and on a basketball roster.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not WCC anymore.
Yeah. So at home against Baylor, and then going to Allen Fieldhouse, taking on Kansas in the second game. Then you got Arizona, and then at BYU. So it's going to be tough, but I like the tests, and I'm ready. I'm ready for TCU men's basketball. Thanks for all that insight, Nick. That was really helpful, and like I said, it got me excited. I don't know about you, Seth.
Listen, I'm excited. It's hard to. I was down on them last year. I was poo-pooing a lot, and I hope that, because like some of my favorite TCU athletics memories of my time there were that 22, 23, that 2-year run where they weren't the best Big 12 team, but man, they beat Kansas that one year. They beat Tech that one year too. They beat Texas, I think, as well. And then obviously played Gonzaga pretty close that second year in the Elite 8. I wish. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Round of 32. But last year was obviously, and the year before that to a degree as well.
Yeah, they faded a little bit. Still made the tournament, but yeah.
This is the year, though. I think, like, with this schedule, especially like with that early game against Michigan, maybe they don't win it, like you said, but it is a good, like, I think a turning point for like the fan base, where like if they play that game and they're like really competitive and maybe even pull it off, that it can serve like that NC State game did for the women's team last year, where I don't think a lot of people were paying attention until that happened.
Yeah, 100%.
And then obviously they beat Notre Dame like a couple days later too, and so all that stuff can kind of snowball into a season where you're like, okay, everyone is on board, and you do need that to happen in order for. And obviously, it's a little bit easier for the men to do that than the women because the men have had a track record of success that the women didn't last year. But I think that if they can get that ball rolling pretty early, and heck, they don't have to beat Florida and they don't have to beat Michigan, but just go out there and don't poop your pants. And I think then that you'll find yourself by the time the new year rolls around and Baylor's coming to town, we'll be excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all very good. So again, thanks Nick for the men's basketball. But look, we still got another team to talk about here, and I think the excitement is equal, if not bigger, for TCU women's basketball coming off the best year in program history, a trip to the Elite Eight for losing to Texas, Big 12 regular season and postseason champs, outright Big 12 champs. Just an unbelievable season for Mark Campbell and the Horned Frogs. It was one of the more memorable seasons in TCU athletics. I will just put that out there, honestly, from any program. And it was such a joy to be able to watch that team. However, they lost a lot, to say the least. A couple players moving on to the WNBA, Haley Van Lith getting drafted by the Chicago Sky. You lose Madison Connor. You lost Sedona Prince. You lost Agnes Emanopu. Am I missing anyone else?
Deja Merrill. There was
Deja Merrill.
There was a lot. There's a lot. Una Jovanovic.
Oh yes, yeah. So you lost about probably 95% of your scoring from a season ago, and you know, if you know anything about Mark Campbell, though, is that he will reload. This dude will not rebuild. He is going to cook in the transfer portal. Probably, in my opinion, the best coach there is in the transfer portal when it comes to getting top-notch talent. So, Nick, I want to ask you, what are some of the key players that Campbell was able to get out of the transfer portal this year?
Yeah, I think you have to start with Olivia Miles. Olivia Miles is going to be the star of this team. She was probably the top player in the portal. Hilarious the way that whole thing worked out when you beat her in the Sweet 16. She enters the portal the day after. TCU loses the day after that. And right away, you're working on getting her on campus, and she was a frog within 2 weeks. So
it was insane. It was such a crazy.
I would just like to point out that I did call it on this show. I said Olivia Miles will be a TCU Horned Frog.
Yeah.
I don't know where my confidence level on that was, but
Mark Campbell.
It did happen. So I just
we said that about
Mark Campbell.
We said that about 15 players TCU beat along the way that season. I think in the tournament, I remember Zion and I were like, "Yeah, that's right. X star is going to be a frog next year." And we had at least I had a small hit rate, but it was on Olivia Miles on the show, which is fun.
Because with MC, there's no. I mean, you got Haley Van Lith and Sedona Prince and Madison Connor to a team that had zero success before, but. Yeah, there's no limit. No one recruits like MC. It's so in it because he recruits high school so hard, and then even if how he gets all these players is that you build that relationship so early, and then whatever high percentage of players end up entering the portal, you already have that relationship to where he can pull Haley Van Lith, who recruited from in high school, or Olivia Miles, who recruited from in high school. So it's genius the way he does it. But yeah, to going back to more players, it's Marta Suarez is a big stretch four that they had. She's risen from Spain, but she was at Cal. Clara Silva's from Kentucky, one of their 6'7" players. Kennedy Basham at 6'7". Veronica Sheffy from San Diego State. She's going to be a backup point guard that they needed. Talia Parker from Texas A&M is a good wing there, and you still retain Donovan Hunter and Taylor Bigby in the league. Robinson's out for the year, unfortunately. But Matty Scher's coming back from injury or redshirt. Like, I will say this, and I've talked to MC a little bit about this roster and everything. Like, the big three of Haley Van Lith and Madison Connor and Sedona Prince will probably not be able to be replaced from this roster. But there was always a thing in your back of your mind where they only played like 6 players per game. The roster was extremely short. If they got blessed with injury luck for the most part, aside of Maddie Scher and some other things, where if a Haley Van Lith went down or Madison Connor went down or Sedona Prince went down, there was no one on the team that I think anybody had full faith to be able to come close to that production, and that would have kind of, derailed their season. This is different, where the depth is there. I think there's a subtle confidence that this team's depth and overall talent may even be better than last year's team. And that's super, super encouraging. And MC's come out and said that this is the hardest working group of players that he's been around, and he's coached some unbelievable teams. If you look at last year, all his Oregon teams, or he was a part of a St. Mary's team that went to the Sweet 16. It's such a high compliment, and you can just tell there's a confidence about this team. Like, Olivia Miles fits a system perfectly, pick and roll. Like, they got the size, and Clara Silva, Maddie Scher was elite at Kentucky and Oregon. If you go look back at her play, like, Donovan Hunter's so ready to take that next step. We saw her start on that team last year and kind of shut down Hannah Hidalgo she's been to 2 Elite Eights. Taylor Bigby has played in 3-on-3 tournaments with USA. Like, you can go up and down this roster. Nat Mazurik looks to take a next step as kind of a stretch force to strive. And I think he's very high on Marta Suarez. Like I said, bringing her to media day is big. And there's so many names on this roster that you can be confident in, because you trust MC's ability to evaluate these players in the portal and not just the players, but the people. Like, the best thing about MC's teams is that the culture is just unbelievable every year. And I think that's exactly the same this year, which is so hard to do in college basketball nowadays, to be able to flip a team and still remain that culture. Obviously, the season hasn't started yet, so we'll see. But all good things coming out of women's basketball camp. They just wrapped up a scrimmage with number 3 UCLA this weekend, and the rumblings are that it went very well for the Frogs. So that says something. It's a lot of people seem to like duck wanting to play TCU this year in the non-con, which is a weaker non-con. And I don't blame them. After last year, they kind of snuck up on people. Like, the one marquee game is NC State and Richmond's rank coming into the year. But, they were picked preseason to win the Big 12. That's the expectation. The expectation is to get back to an Elite 8 and kind of keep going with this juggernaut that they're building in Fort Worth and women's basketball, which is super fun, because in a year that you lost all the talent, like you said, to be able to still be picked number 1 the next year with all the talent that you got is unreal, and I think it can't be talked about enough.
Yeah, you mentioned the schedule. I'm just noticing that TCU men's and women's big ranked matchups on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
as of now, at least. TCU plays Florida. The men play Florida, and then the women play Richmond. How about that? Anyway, yeah. I think this is a totally different conversation than the men in terms of like expectations and goals, right? Because they're both like pretty new rosters. Not like the men obviously had all those returners, but they have like new key pieces coming in that, while we can be somewhat certain about how they do, we don't know exactly how it'll all fit, and everything like that until they actually start playing. But with the women, the men, right, Nick, you're like, the goal is just to make the tournament, and because that'll be exceeding expectations. With the women, it's like, if we got to get back to where we were last year. Like that's what this is, and obviously that's tough and hard, and it's a totally different team. And you mentioned this is not going to be the same roster, and heck, you might not even be able to get the same production that you were able to get last year from your core 3. That was one of the best that we'd ever seen. in Big 12 women's basketball history. Do you think it is a feasible goal for this roster to get back to the Elite Eight? Not even like, because I know that's the expectation, but is it feasible?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a player like Olivia Miles leading your team and a lot of like they have Elite Eight experience, the goal is to win the Big 12. I mean, this is if you look at the grand scheme of or I guess the total view of this program, like they struck gold on a coach in Mark Campbell, and they've put together these winning seasons that nobody even thought, and they invested even more this year into being able to provide the NIL for these star players to come and join the program. Like the expectation now is to be able to get there and stay there and become a juggernaut in this thing and become one of the programs that you look at as one of the top in women's basketball. And I think they jumped on the scene and did that last year. Whenever you win the Big 12, you're up there, and whenever you make the Elite Eight, you're up there. So, the expectation is definitely to remain at that level. Obviously, it's a completely different team, and the magic of the shock of it all from last year and the Haley Van Lith being such a big superstar and all that kind of stuff may not be replicated, but now you're here and now you're the hunted, and they definitely expect to win the Big 12 and get right back to that Elite Eight stage.
It's kind of fun to have that mindset of you were last year, you were the hunter, and now you're the hunted, and you've got the target on your back. Everyone in the Big 12, it's no secret anymore. Like Mark Campbell's a legitimate coach, and they know what TCU women's basketball can be capable of. So, yeah, it's still. I mean, obviously, we've talked about Olivia Miles and how unbelievable that it was that Mark Campbell was able to, because she was going to be the number 2 pick in the draft behind Paige Beckers, who is a generational college basketball player. Like in any, maybe outside of the Caitlin Clark, like she would have been a number 1 pick in just about any other draft. Like she is a legitimate active D1 leader in career assists per game, triple doubles. She has 25 career double doubles, 5 triple doubles. So like she is a legit playmaker, and that's kind of where it excites me about this team is it starts with her. And again, similar to what we kind of were talking about with the men's, having a guard that can easily run this offense and has plenty of experience, has been on very talented teams in the past. She can calm things down and just bring this unit together. And I think that's really, really exciting. Wanted to talk about a couple players that are returning because I'm personally really excited about the leap that Donovan Hunter, I think, is going to take, because she was probably your best perimeter defense. I mean, I would agree. You guys would agree, probably the best.
The top,
Best perimeter defender on the team, and also developed as a scorer as well. And so I'm really excited for the leap she's going to take. Wanted to ask for your thoughts about her, and then also kind of a wild card with Maddie Scher, because she came in last year, didn't play, but she was a pretty highly touted transfer coming in from Kentucky. So what are your thoughts about those two players having a year with Mark Campbell, and now with all these new players, they're the returners, and what do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's massive, and I think two of the leaders on this team, two of the high character players on this team, like it's they fit perfect with the culture. Donovan Hunter, like you said, like she's had 2 years in college basketball. She's been a starter on 2 Elite Eight teams. It does not get much better than that. She's gonna get the top defending option. I think she's still the best perimeter defender on this team. And really take that next step as like a true leader and be able to facilitate and play off Olivia Miles. It goes back to like MC's offense has always loved to have 2 point guards on the floor, kind of commanding their team, like similar to Brock Harding and Jaden Pierre. Like it's and that's why they played Donovan Hunter alongside HVL with a Madison Connor, because Madison Connor wasn't a point guard, and they could still have 2 and have Connor play the 3 a little bit and space the floor. So I do anticipate Dono to be able to play off Olivia Miles, and Maddie Sher can handle the ball as well, like you said. I think taking Maddie Sher to media day shows a lot of confidence in her and her ability to come back from the back injury and be the player that she was before. Even like whenever you see players have season-long injuries and they can always kind of, I don't know, just kind of be away from the team and do their own rehab and all that kind of things. And she was there from every game, every minute, kind of being a leader, being there for her teammates, and I think that shows great character and the investment in this team. She's going to be another great guard and be able to handle, and I think she's going to be the veteran leader for this team. And it's so encouraging because, like I said, the depth is the big thing this year, where there's so many players that they trust, and they have so much more room to experiment with different lineups and mismatch different players. And if something goes wrong, like we already saw, unfortunately, Leah Robertson out for the year with the torn ACL. She was a big part of last year's team and would be a big part of this year's team. But they have the players like in an Atma Zurich or a Taylor Bigby to pick up that slack, and Marta Suarez as well. That it's very encouraging because they can win in probably more ways than they even could last year, which is saying something because last year's team was unreal.
It's going to be a fun year. That's all I got. I listen. I agree with what y'all are saying, and also listen. It's also encouraging that, to a degree, right? I think a lot of Frog fans, it can be hard when your roster is so transient to connect with people. But what I think has been really unique about these groups of players that Mark Campbell's been able to bring in is that they've been able to kind of ingratiate themselves into the university and into the fan base super quickly, to where like Haley Van Lith had only been here and sure, she's the greatest TCU women's basketball player of all time. And it only took, 6 months for that to even happen. But even without that, she was like a cultural icon on campus. And it's hard for that to happen overnight. And it has been happening for TCU women's basketball. And I think that's been a really unique thing about this roster, because the men have also had like transfer portal players come in as well. And sure, part of this is just about success, but like, I'm sure that and this is no shade to Jameer Nelson, but like if you ask a Frog fan 15 years from now, who is the point guard for TCU 23, 24, I don't know if they'll be able to tell you that answer. But like, I think that's been something that's super special about TCU, because even if last year wasn't that great, I think you could tell, a Frog fan could tell you who the players on the team. And I think that is something that Mark Campbell and this team has done super well. That's a totally vibes thing as well. Listen, I'm the vibes guy. You're not looking for. I can tell you who shoots a free throw good. I can do that. Really good at that.
I'm sure if you ask the average TCU student to name 3 players from last year's TCU men's basketball team, I don't know if the average player could do it. I don't know if there's probably 98% of TCU students knew who Haley Van Lith was. And I think that's special, and it sounds silly because it has, I guess, nothing to do with the actual basketball results.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Just having that buzz around your school is massive, and look, nobody's gonna gravitate this fan base like Haley Van Lith did last season, but I think they can have, again, some magic with the star power of Olivia Miles, and Maddie Sher is kind of a star in herself, and they still have the star power. They still have the people to gravitate towards, and that's big when you're trying to rally a fan base and really form an identity.
Yeah, you don't. I was gonna say, I don't think you get Haley or Olivia Miles if Haley Van Lith didn't come to TCU last year, to see what Haley Van Lith went through at LSU, and then the growth she had at TCU to become a top 10 pick in the WNBA draft. I mean, obviously Olivia Miles' stock was already super high, but she saw the potential with Mark Campbell, and I think that too is just another small things. Sorry, Seth. What were you going to say?
No, I agree. That's kind of spinning off of that. Like you kind of had last year, right? And then like the season ends, and you know that all, or like most of the production and like all the people that you've become attached to are leaving. That's like not a bad thing. That's just how college works. And then we said it like a week, 2 weeks later, however long it was, Mark Campbell says, you know what, guys, here's something to be excited about. And just keeps the snowball rolling with another star. And I don't know if he can do that every single offseason. I don't know if that's sustainable, but it might be. I don't know. I'm not, because he's done it all 3 years he's been here.
Can't count him out.
So, I mean, he could freaking, I mean, Paige Beckers could be could be on TCU's campus. I don't know how that's even possible, but he could be doing it.
She
said, screw the wings. I know she was. She was at the Colorado game.
Yeah.
But
screw the wings. Yeah,
we're losing so bad.
Yeah,
we play in a college arena anyway.
Yeah, yeah. It's no, Seth. I think you were talking about your point about players and the buy-in and just how much they accept TCU. I think it's a great point. It just you don't think about these players like Sedona Prince was in college basketball for a long time. She was at Texas, she was at Oregon, and people kind of remember her as her impact that she had at TCU. Same with HVL, it Louisville, LSU, but no, TCU, that's the season that she's going to be remembered for. So these players are making a name for themselves in Fort Worth, and just that was not possible even a few years ago. This was a team that won one conference game before Mark Campbell arrived, and it's grown so exponentially. I don't think you just don't see that in any sport, and let alone in college basketball. So it's a special thing that he's doing. And I mean, I could not be more excited for this season. I think the expectation is we're going to compete at the top of the Big 12, and they can feel confident in saying that should they stay healthy.
It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, it's exciting. Again, not the same level of like difficulty when it comes to the non-conference schedule as we saw last year, taking on NC State and Notre Dame. Yeah, teams are ducking. Look, I'm not going to sit here and believe that Mark Campbell wanted an easy. Nah, he wanted all the smoke, and everyone's like, "Oh, no, I don't want
yeah.
He would have scheduled South Carolina if Don Staley wanted to.
Yeah, he would have probably gotten UConn.
I have no reporting on that. I just want to make sure that is a joke.
Sure. Hey, I'm sure he would like that test again.
Yeah, that left a sour taste in their mouths. I'm sure they'd want to run it back, but instead they get to open up against North Carolina A&T.
Low-key, I've been to that campus. I'm not even joking.
It's a double header.
But the North Carolina A&T State campus.
It's a double header on Thursday. So if y'all aren't doing nothing, I'm gonna try to get out there. North Carolina A&T gauntlet of a game with the women's to start it off, and then you get in the nightcap you get St. Francis with the men. So cool little cool little doubleheader there. It's always fun when the show is a doubleheader.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And then they'll open up with Kansas State in Big 12 play. So they're going to get right into it with the team that they played in the Big 12 title game. So
they played Baylor in the Big 12 title game.
Oh, yeah, Baylor. Yeah, duh. I don't know. They did not play Kansas State. They played Baylor.
They did lose to K-State last year, though.
That's kind of what I was thinking about there. But yeah, they play Kansas State and then at BYU and at Utah.
They also have a talented Ohio State game that's late in the year in January, but that's also good for the non-con.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a breakup in the conference schedule?
Yeah, it's like a neutral site. I think it's a sponsored event that has another game plan that I can't recall. But Ohio State's a very talented team, and Yeah, like you see it in men sometimes where they'll do a random non-con in the middle of the year, and that's what kind of they're doing here to make sure their non-con is bolstered. So I think that's another good addition.
Bring back the challenges. Bring back the Big 12 SEC challenge.
Yeah, I agree. Remember TCU LSU with men's?
Yeah, they always
That
put it
was
on my
fun.
birthday, and TCU lost to Vandy on my birthday one year, and I
Damn.
remember like that ruined my day. It shouldn't have, but I was like, how could Kenrich Williams
Die
lose
hard.
to Vanderbilt?
I personally enjoyed that TCU LSU game where we were all heckling Shaq's son
Yeah.
in the game.
Was Will Wade the coach? Was Will Wade the coach at LSU
No,
that
I
ran that
think he was
game?
gone by then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
well if he
should know
was,
who
well
it was.
we sent Will Wade into the Phantom Zone, but I guess he's back in the Power 5 now. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
NC State's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
They're probably
TCU at
cheating.
Mississippi State. And, like
Oh,
Mike
that was
Miles
terrible.
got hurt.
That game was terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Never mind. Don't bring back the Big 12 SEC challenge. TCU kind of struggled in the Big 12 SEC
Nah,
challenge.
LSU TCU was fun.
That was
They
a
beat
fun
A
game.
and M in 21, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was in like a neutral site game in Houston.
Yeah, yes, it was. I think it was at the Rockets Arena. That was fun. So they've had their fair share.
Yeah, it'd be fun if they brought that back. We have just passed the hour mark here on this episode, so I think that's where we'll finish things up here. And look, that was a lot of fun. Obviously the main attention is on TCU football, and rightfully so. They've got a bye week, but a big 4-game stretch ahead of them. But it's always good to get started here with TCU basketball because I think the vibes are good right now for men's and women's. High expectations, and it's always fun. I don't know the last time where both teams were both like really competitive. So hopefully, this could be the year that could happen.
Why
do
not?
y'all recall a time?
No, because the women's was so bad for the longest of times, and then right when they got good, the men's dipped last year. So if both made the tournament, that'd be really, really fun.
It would make for some stressful nights in March, but I would want it so bad. So, Nick, thanks for joining us. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, the main thing is x.com, the everything app. At Girimonte Nicky, at GirimonteNicky. I'll post all my content on there. That's really all that matters. But no, I appreciate y'all having. Y'all know I love this pod. Big listener, and I appreciate you guys having me on. It means a ton.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We always love it.
Go
Gales.
Yep. If you're not already following Nick on Twitter, I don't know, or X, what are you doing? You're not doing TCU. You're not doing TCU athletics right. So go follow him there. But yeah, thank you all for tuning into this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. All at Believe in TCU. You can also follow me and Seth on X as well. So you can get updates on. Yeah, do it. You can get updates on when the new episodes drop. So for Nick Girimonte and Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.